Hello, and today I'll be covering how to convert Google Sketchup SKP files to Giant Editor i3D files. So first thing first, open up your model in Google Sketchup 8 I would recommend, or any later versions. I don't have a model to hand, so again I'm just going to improvise. Texture model, anyway, you should probably have a much better looking model than me, but anyway, it's almost likely that you're going to have untextured planes somewhere. So if you find a hollow part of your model and move the camera to the inside of it, you'll notice that there's a lot of white planes on the inside. You have to texture these planes, otherwise the textures on the outside will be reversed inside. To do this, move your camera to the inside of the box where you can see the white planes. Select any random texture you want. It doesn't matter, no one will be able to see it at all. Hold down Shift and click on any of the planes, and it'll texture every single white plane inside the model. Right, now's that done, we can now take into account the origin. The origin is the same as the Giant's Editor origin. You know, the three arrows, the blue, the red and the green. So if your model is far away from the origin in Google SketchUp, it's going to be exactly the same in Giant's i3D. It's better if you just try and make this as minimal as possible. The closest to the origin the better, and it's easier to work with in Giant's Editor. So now we can go to File, Export, 3D Model. I suggest saving it to the desktop simply because it's easier to get at, it's accessible, and it won't get lost in tons of clutter in my documents or your documents. Naming. I suggest you do something practical and don't use spaces. If you use spaces, Blender won't be able to find the textures and you'll end up with an untextured model in Giant's Editor. So I'm going to call it Box 1. Because I've already used box 2 for my other failed attempt. I'm going to export. It's going to take longer to export bigger models, of course. It'll be the same throughout the whole tutorial, really. Sometimes it's easier to do it in bits and then combine the model in one at the end. We don't need that. Don't need that. So now you'll have two files. You'll have a folder full of textures, like this, and you'll have the .dae file. With those, you just go Blender. I use 2.49b just because it's the only one that works for the plugin, and no, the plugin will not be updated. I don't have the scripts to update it, and I doubt that the farming simulator makers will update it either until the next version. So here you'll have a light, and there'll also be a camera up here. You'll just want to tap A until everything is selected purple. With this, click delete, and without moving your mouse, hit enter. This will then delete everything in the scene. It'll be clean and ready to continue. Go to File, Import, Collada 1.4.dae. It has to be 1.4. 1.3.1 does not work. Go to Browse for File. Like I said, it'll be wherever you put it in the directory. Box 1. Import and import and close. Again, it'll take longer for some models to import. Now, before we continue, you'll want all the models to be in one piece. If you have hundreds of pieces in Giant's Editor, it can be a bit of a problem and sometimes cause lag on low PCs. So you'll want to first select any face by right clicking on it. That'll select a single textured plane. I know that it selects two there, that's because there's two combined because they're both the same texture, but there's no need to get into that. Now you'll need to press A until it selects all of it. As you can see, all of it is selected. It's all got a pink outline. You'll then need to hit Control J, and without moving your mouse again, enter. You could also click as well, but enter is just easier. Now your whole model will be joined. if you're worried about scaling, I'll do another tutorial about that, because it'll all need to be covered in one thing, along with making it static, because Giants Editor only accepts a scale of 1 for static. So we've done that. You can now go to File, Export, Giants I3D. Go to Browse, find a decent place to put it. I just think desktop's the easiest, just go for that. If you don't change that, then it'll be saved to a temporary folder and deleted when you close Blender, so you've got to save that. An export scene. Again, it'll take longer for bigger models. If you're unsure if it's actually converted, then you can do one of two things. Check the console and Blender to see if it's exported it to the path. Also, you can check if the i3D file's on the destination where you want it to. So that's done, don't need that. So we've got 3 files now: the .dae, the i3D, and the folder full of textures. You don't need the .dae anymore, but I keep it for a backup in case the i3D isn't quite right. So move that into the folder full of textures. You can name the i3D whatever you want, it doesn't matter, but do not name the textures. If you rename the textures, then it will not work. You'll now want to click Edit and Open With if you're using just a normal Notepad, or if you're using Notepad++, it's just simpler just to use that. It's easier and I use it. Here you'll have at the top files. I've only got 2, that should be correct. Yep. Here you'll see it has assets in front of it. That's the directory. You don't need that, so delete the assets and backslash on every single texture. If there's a lot of them, you can just simply go Control F, replace, type in assets backslash and delete that so it's blank, and then you can click replace all, and then it'll replace every single one. That's a much easier way to do it. Now that we've done that, we can hit Control S, or just simply go File, Save, but I've already done it. Close that. Now you've got a working model in Giants Editor, all textured and working. If you've got a problem with textures not being right, and if you get a distance away and they change direction, they go diagonal, that's simply because the textures aren't in the right 512 by 512 resolution or 1024 by 1024 resolution. Sometimes it's easier just to tidy up the i3D. So if you hit Control, if you open up the transform group, select the object, hit Control X and Control V, delete the transform group, select the object, and up here you'll have attributes. Probably be a lot longer, it'll be like that if it's your first time opening it. Under name, you can name the object whatever you want. So I'm just going to name it box 1, and there we go. You can't if you can't scale it, you can't go 2, 2, 2 and then set it as a rigid body, because it won't work. It has to be 1, 1, 1. Again, I'll cover that in a different tutorial if you if you don't know what the right scale is. But you can scale it and leave it so it's not static. That's about it. As you can see, we moved it on Google Sketchup, and that's where the origin is. And you now should have a fully working model in Giants Editor. Just File, Save, and you're done. You no longer need the box_1 or whatever you named it, .dae, if the Giants Editor file is okay. If it isn't okay, revise your steps and import it into Blender again. Normally you go wrong in Blender, not Google Sketchup, so I just check that. So you can delete that. You can now move that wherever you want. It's all in one piece. Thank you for watching. If you need any help at all, just comment in the on the video. Also, if you either subscribe, rate, or any of those, it motivates me more to make more videos. Thank you. That'll be all.